Welcome to The Pullbag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pullbag.
Hello and welcome to The Pullbag. This is Back Issue Classics, episode 57. I am one of your hosts, TFG and Mike, and joining me is ComicRevolt Dan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's gone. So today we're diving back into Image Comics, and no, we're not talking sex criminals, and sadly, we're not talking Cowl Volume 2 just yet, but a new series. Well, you've read this already, but it's new to me, and it's kind of the trend here in the Pullbag for this week and last week, where I've been looking at series that I've been trying to get around to for the last, I don't know, year or so, and just haven't. Last week we had Lumberjanes with Beatles, Diva, and I, and this week we've got I Hate Fairyland. So, there's that. When did you first find out about this series?
I don't know, probably from a preview issue from Image, or maybe on Twitter from Scotty Young. I really don't know when I first heard about it, but yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of Scotty Young and a lot of his work, so I follow him, you know, what he's doing pretty steadily, and heard this was coming up and saw the premise. And I know his style felt would work great, so it took me a while. I didn't think get into it until a few issues in, but I knew I wanted to, because I pretty much have loved everything he's done up to this point.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I just read this morning right before we recorded this. We're going to cover issues 1 and 2 today out of the 5 that are already out. I do know that issues 6 and 7 is coming, but issues 1 and 2, Scotty Young is on story and art. The colors are done by Gene Francis. I can't even pronounce the last name. The lettering is done by Nate Picos of Blambot. So there's that. At first I thought, okay, it's an Image book. Probably means it's not safe for kids. And then I look at half the language, and they basically he works on getting her to curse without actually having her curse.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of purposeful censorship, but in a more humorous way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first issue opens up with Once Upon a Time and all that, and the main character, Gertrude, gets sucked through her bedroom floor. Basically an Alice in Wonderland joke.
Oh, there's a lot of tie-ins to pretty much all types of fairy tales and Disney stuff. Yeah. It's yeah, for sure.
Fairy tales, and there's even Star Wars references and Wizard of Oz references. Because I mean, come on, Queen Claudia, and that's almost like Glinda the Good Witch. So in the first issue, she's given a Jiminy Cricket type character to be her guide.
Yeah.
And Fairyland looks like a really, really fun place, but Gertrude just does not want to be there. Now, let's face it, she essentially got sucked into this place without, a choice at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she wanted to be there at first when she was a child. The caveat is, right, 37 years later, that changes. So it's like being stuck on
that was the... Yeah. So when I started reading this, and obviously you got the opening and all that, and then you got the narration, and I just figured, it's going to be some character in the book somewhere, somehow. Come to realize it's the moon doing the narration. And the big picture in the first issue of the moon, when he says that was 27 years ago, why is it that he almost looks like Alfred Hitchcock in his face and his frown?
Well, I guess they both have a really big face and big mouth. I guess I don't know. I did not get that, but I guess it makes sense. I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, that becomes a running gag in the series where the narrator of some sort is brought in out to kind of bring up the reader or kind of review what happened next, and
Right.
she basically goes on to then gruesomely murder everyone and the witnesses as well, which I think lets you know right off the bat like what exactly you're dealing with when it comes
Yep.
to this comic.
So as soon as I saw the scene where the narrator is describing to us, he says the sweet young girl who was once filled with hope and joy was taken over by the hateful, miserable, disgusting, revolting, wretched, horrendous, putrid, and fluff that guy. Hey, I can hear you, right? So I don't think, and I'm probably going to break everybody's brain with this. One of my interviews a couple years ago that I did, Joe Sanfilippo, he is a narrator for Ever After High, which is a Mattel Netflix original animated series based on fairy tale characters. So he's one of the narrators on that show. And in that cartoon, the child of, I think it's Alice from Alice in Wonderland, can actually hear the narrator. She's the only character in the entire cartoon that I can actually hear the narrator. So as soon as I saw this scene, I'm like, oh my god, I want Joe to voice the moon now, because that's just so awesome.
You want to see him, his entity be destroyed into little tiny bits of moon brain.
No, I don't. No, just the opening part. I don't want to see him after the fact.
Yeah.
She essentially kills him. And then she kills the stars, okay, the big giant gun. Does it remind you of anything?
The thing that always comes to my mind was Looney Tunes. I don't know if there's something I'm not thinking.
Or Eddie Valiant. And as soon as I saw the bullets, I'm like, which way did he go? Which way did he go? Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the art style in this. The art style is amazing.
Yeah, I love, like, Scotty Young has this, like, I don't know, there's a lot of influences within his work, but there's also like a unique kind of creativity within it too. You can see Looney Tunes, you could see Ren and Stimpy with the cartoon violence, but he kind of makes it his own for sure. And he does a lot of variant covers, and he kind of has this kiddish style, but he does it in a lot of fun ways, and he keeps it fresh. Like, I don't know if you ever read, he did the Wizard of Oz series for Marvel too, and that's kind of where he had his huge breakout. But I think he brings it up to another level, and a large part due to the colors as well. It's just,
yeah, the colors in this are amazing.
yeah, it just like soaks you in with it's intense. It is very much like the world is representing. It's intense. It's sweet. It's vibrant, but like you can't stare it out after too long because it might hurt your eyes, I think. But it's gorgeous to look at.
Like the panel when she's shooting and all the bullets come out. That's just, you've got this bright blue, because it's almost night. It's supposed to be nighttime because she shot the moon. It's got this like bright and dark blue at the top with the purple at the like purplish pink at the bottom right, and then the cloud cover, and then this giant gun is just amazing. And then the panel where you actually see the damage that the bullets are causing to the stars, because essentially she kills the moon, and then she says, "Oh, we must, eliminate all the witnesses," and apparently the stars are actual characters and people, and
yeah,
it's not very good to be a star, especially, and it always, and I know this isn't scientifically correct, and the first thing I thought of was, oh, so that's how they get shooting stars.
Yeah, I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson would agree with that hypothesis of shooting stars, but it's funny because it doesn't hide from the brutality of it in a way where it's like, she is an awful person and she is completely okay with genocide, which just lets you know it makes her all that more interesting though, and especially because just a few pages earlier she was this young girl thrown into this fantastic world, but right away we know 37 years of basically living in hyper sugar version of Disneyland will drive anyone insane.
Yeah. So the queen wants to kill her, but the queen can't actually kill her. So she basically hires a huntsman. Thank God Kristen Stewart was not playing this character. Oh, boy. And they go to Las Fungus, which is essentially Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Again, the colors, just everything about it is just amazing. Absolutely love it. We even get, as I mentioned before, we get a where she's supposed to be a certain princess. Thankfully, Scotty had the taste not to put her in a slave bikini. But the glob guy basically says, we can either grind your guts and bones and use it for Rooks in tomorrow's gumbo, or you can answer our riddle. And she's like, FML, riddle away. Just absolutely, it's just so great. So we get this giant riddle. And then she has her Princess Leia moment. Now, did you expect this? I mean, we know this character is just horrifying and evil and whatever else when it comes to Gertrude, but did you expect her to pull a Princess Leia?
I was thinking, no, I think she was going to pull out some sort of like insane weapon and just like blow a hole through him. But I assumed like something fishy was going to go on, but I didn't get the pull full Leia and just like choke the life out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I normally turn away from a lot of blood, guts, and gore, folks, but this is just so much fun. This entire this first issue and the second issue as well, when we get to it, reminds me of that what's that one video game came out a few years ago? Not Lollipop Chainsaw. What was that one where it's the guy in the amusement park? Oh God, Sunset Paradise. That's what it is. That's what this reminds me of. Is all the violence of that, and no comic like this would be as great as it is without a eating mushrooms joke.
Yeah, I always wondered what Toadstool tasted like, and now we kind of know. So,
yep.
Yeah, it's definitely within a few pages. She's committed mass murder, killed this person, and started tripping off of the brains of a Toad person. So, yeah, Scotty Young is starting off strong for sure.
Yeah, and I love because her what's his name, Larry, is her cricket. I really want to call him Jiminy, but his name is Larry. And he basically says to her, "You ate some of the mushrooms. Not very much of them. I'm fine, Mr. Scary Monster, I promise." Next panel is how she sees him. This is going to be a long night. So we get them going to Ice Cream Island, which looks amazing. I wish I had a larger... The way the guided view on Comixology, it's just one small panel. I wish it was like a full-page spread of Ice Cream Island, because that looks amazing.
Yeah, I would love to put posters of this up. I'm waiting for like some people to like find posters of I Hate Fairyland and start putting them up and not realizing what it actually is, like putting them in like a daycare or something like that. It's like, actually, yeah, that's not what you think it is.
No, it's not.
There is,
not.
I mean, there is a I Hate Fairyland coloring book coming out. So if you're looking for a gift for kids, there you go.
This series, folks, is not, even though it looks like, fairy tale-esque kind of, I mean, it is a fairyland, fairy tale kind of thing, but it's not really for children at all. Like most Image comics are not for kids, but it's just so hilarious. It really, really is. I love the first issue. We end on a really interesting cliffhanger of how she meets what happened earlier with the Queen when the Queen called her huntsman. So that kind of puts it at a cliffhanger. And the other thing that's in this is, because it's the first issue, it's that lowercase I, which is Scotty Young's letter to the reader about how the whole series came about. I really enjoy reading that. I thought that was great. I've been meaning to read some of his stuff, but people, there are just too many comics in the world.
Yeah, like I said, I would recommend his Wizard of Oz. I would say it's, in the sense, it's a little bit more straightforward. It has a similar style to it, but it's more, it's taking, it goes through basically the entire saga of Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And he's done Rocket Raccoon as well, and you could see a lot of Gertrude, like Rocket Raccoon, in the way he uses that character, very much similar to that personality and temperament of Gertrude. They're very similar in that way. But it's kind of funny seeing that in this young girl who's, looks like she's 5 or 6, but she's really this 37-year-old woman who's been dead inside for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah, going to strange dimensions and stuff ages you rapidly, or it's always some weird aging thing with going to being sucked down a rabbit hole. The first issue, I absolutely loved it. I almost immediately wanted to read the other 4 issues. I only read the second one because we're only talking about the first 2. But I am so hooked on this series at this point. I love it. What would you? Any other thoughts for issue 1 for you?
No, I mean the one question I had after it was like, how long can you sustain a story of this nature? Like, because it's, it's a high concept. It's like we said, it's very, high energy. It's got a lot going on. So can you make this, more than a miniseries? And that was my only really question going in. But besides that, it was basically a comic that I enjoyed being a comic, and it was just a whole hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. On the GCR Universal 0 to 5 star scale, what would you give issue 1?
I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. It just, it's not trying to be the most, high quality comic in the world. It's going for a certain style and certain enjoyment factor. And I think it really nails that. So 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 4 out of 5. It's like, because of its because of its story and because of what it's supposed to be. I mean, I'm not expecting like super shiny, glossy Marvel stuff or DC grit, down and gritty and whatever else kind of stuff with this. But at the same time, as we said with the first issue, it pretty much has a it's pretty much like a, like the old judges scales. It has a light side and a dark side, or I guess you could say it's Hyrule, light world and dark world. But it's one of those things where at one point it's bright, sunny, and everything's okay, and then something happens and she gets pissed off, and then we go dark. For issue number 2, same writing and art team, except the mouse has to take over the narration because the moon is dead. What did you think about the mouse narrator?
Well, it basically cued me into the fact that, okay, this is going to be a thing that continue every issue, and I'm curious how they keep going with it. So it did gives you that expectation of, okay, oh, we have another narrator. How is she going to, destroy or massively murder this person? So that I enjoyed the kind of progression of it and like keeping that joke going.
Mm-hmm. And so in the last issue, since this has been out a while, folks, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it for you. We met the huntsman, the guy that was supposed to kill her for Queen Claudia. And that didn't happen, obviously. Because we open this issue, the first thing we see is Gertrude with the head of the huntsman on the bar. Once again, so not for kids.
No, unless you're a very morbid family, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Were you at all surprised that like you had that cut from him, like basically leaving on that cliffhanger of, okay, she's gonna have to try to take on this guy, to next thing we see she's in a bar with his head on her lap? Did that surprise you that we didn't actually see that confrontation?
Yeah, like I I don't know. I mean, like, I think so far out of reading these first two issues, her character, specifically destroying the moon and you know, killing all the stars to death. Um, I only expect her to see. I only at this point, I only really expect me to see her take on certain things, and that guy was huge. So I'm kind of glad. Like, I don't, I don't think. Of course, I read this like an hour and a half ago, as of this recording, but I don't think we ever get a flashback of her battle with this guy. At least not in this issue. But if we ever get one, it would be nice. But she beat him. I mean, that's just the way her character is written, the way her character is drawn. Uh, she's a badass.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it either. I think it kind of just it was a good not juxtaposition, but it was, ending in that one moment. Okay, like, okay, here we go. Here's going to be this thing. It's like, oh no, it was, was not a big thing for her. So it does give you some idea of who she is as a character. Her strengths, and I thought it was also kind of funny too because it was unexpected. It was a fun surprise and then it it showed you that this is maybe not going to go in a direction that you maybe expect. So.
Yep. And we have Bedtime Bear, the bartender.
I was surprised he wasn't blasted away. I'm like, oh man, the character that looks like a Care Bear, he's not going to last very long. This is not going to
be And it's just one of those, just what she says in reply, because he says to her, I do believe that when a patron starts using the severed head of a huntsman as a companion, he or she may have had enough to drink. Let's say you settle up and call it a night. She ain't got no money, and she's having 3 more of those.
Oh, yeah. So, again, of showing her basically drunk off her gourd again. That's, she's been... was high last time off of mushrooms, and now she's just wasted off of ale in a sugar ale. I guess I don't even know. Well, it's magical ale. We soon find.
Yeah, it's. We find out later that it's wishing ale, but we'll get to that in a bit. She basically scares the frog away. Kermit runs like hell, folks.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
He doesn't really look like Kermit the Frog, but I love the line. Where the spell do you think you're going?
Yeah, I do love the language he creates in here, like how spell and all these common words related to fairy tales become basically curse words, or replacing. I don't know. It was just a nice little twist, a little thing that made it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, like we've said, and like I've repeated multiple times already, this isn't for kids, but I would suggest this to any parent, really, because if any parent is worried about language in comics, this is a really good, and I've learned over the years to replace certain words or change certain words or add a letter to certain words to make it sound like it's not actually that word. Like, obviously, this is an explicit podcast, so I'm going to use an example. Fuck. Sometimes I'll use duck. Something like that. So we find out that she's been drinking wishing ale, and she makes this wish to be normal. And the perfect example of the language change is what Larry says after this happens. Fudge my life. That's the best line I've heard all year.
And he has that look on his face too. It's just like he's a dude who's just been like defeated. Yeah. He's just this guy who starts off like you said, like a Jiminy Cricket character, and now he just looks like a chain smoking, depressed cricket that's just ready to let it all go.
Yeah, he really, really is. So Gertrude becomes this super giant, sugary looking thing. I can't even see her face anymore at this point. I mean,
No, she's like this morbid blob of like pus and pimples,
yeah,
and yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's insane.
And we finally we do get a close up on her face, and this is probably the point where I'd say it goes a little bit Ren and Stimpy in the art with the close up of her face and what it looks like. It wasn't until you mentioned Ren and Stimpy that I even really made that connection to this art at all.
Yeah, I don't think it goes as necessarily as far as Ren and Stimpy, but there's certainly like there's a gross out quality to it, but it
Yeah,
fits in what they're doing because it's giving you a sight of what she would look like if she was in real life eating all the food she does in this fairyland.
yep. And Larry says, so normal. So your normal seems to be walking type 19 diabetic tumor. Hey, you never know. Maybe that frog knight finds that thing kind of hot.
Hey, I mean, frogs are into warts, aren't they? So
Yeah. Uh, so we go back to Queen Claudia, and she then basically contacts the evil witch. Why is it I'm seeing Mad Madam Mim from the Sword and the Stone in this character?
I'm seeing I guess the Good Witch from again maybe because it's just
Wizard of
Wizard of
Oz.
Oz, and we didn't mention that last time, but I do like the little the little rule they put in here that being the queen, she hates Gertrude and she wants to destroy her, but she can't hurt her herself. So
Right.
it's interesting seeing
Yeah.
her trying to find ways around that by getting other people to do her dirty work for her. So
Yeah.
that that's you kind of see, okay, this is what it's setting up, that formula of what to expect basically in each issue.
Yeah. Uh, so we have the witch that she contacts, and this witch is traveling to find Gertrude and basically turns the goat guy into some zombie goat.
Yeah, and this I actually really love what they start doing with the colors here. Like we mentioned, it's really bright and cheery,
Yeah.
and then it gets like almost a horror vibe as it's darker to a certain extent, but it does use some like neon colors just to accent that to stay within the framework of the comic. But I do like this transition we get as we get into this, pseudo zombies that start flooding the area because of this witch.
Yeah. Well, the witch, she poisons the guy. He eats the apple, he gets poisoned, then she walks away. Um, Now, I noticed this later when Gertrude and Larry come upon it, but I didn't notice it until now that the brain does have a bite taken out. Now, I assume the witch did that, right?
I would assume it was the other characters. Basically, it was just showing you that like these
Yeah.
it's like the zombie virus where they biting each other to spread it from one character to the next.
Okay, that could work. So Larry finds his lighter, which apparently she was hoping it would be the key.
Yeah, and we didn't mention that when it comes to this, the story behind it. Basically, she gets sucked into this fairyland, and she has to find this key. And what should take you think would be like, oh, it's a little adventure. That what gets her stuck there because she's been looking for it for 36 years, and she's had no luck
Yep.
finding it and figuring out all these clues. Because as we saw in the first issue, she's not a big fan of riddles. She just rather just go through blunt force to get her way.
Yep. And the key is supposedly supposed to be the thing that takes her home, right? That's
Yeah.
why they brought her here in the first place,
Yeah.
is to
It's
have her
it
go.
starts as an innocent game of basically like a hide and seek or a riddle, and then hasn't been able to find this stinking key. It's like when you're at your house and you can't find your keys, and they end up being in the first place you looked the entire time. They're actually in the door because you never took them out. So.
Yep. Yeah. We get to the next big splash page here when it's right after where she says, understand the Bopey Top said it would be here. We get, that giant splash page after that. And again, I so want, like, I wish Scotty Young had, like, deviant art prints of various splash pages from this series, because having this as art would be awesome. It's a giant guy, a giant blue guy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a giant Smurf. Colors of Smurf turn when you choke them green. It's a giant Smurf. It's actually a few of them. It's not just one. It's just one in the foreground and a couple in the background. And then you get the sun slowly peeking up over the mountain, because the sun probably saw what happened to his buddy the moon, and he doesn't want that to happen to him.
Exactly. He didn't see anything.
Yeah, no.
It's not even snitches get stitches. It's snitches get their heads blown off. So he's just trying not to be seen. Yep.
So they run into the half chewed up brain. They then go to the eerily abandoned village.
Yeah, and that's again where the colors become very effective in showing this and getting that vibe of, okay, some stuff's about to go down now.
Well, yeah, like I said, with that giant splash page, it's all bright and sunny and full of color, and then we get to where Larry and Gertrude are walking through this forest-type place, and like I said, they see the brain, and this is where all the background colors turn to like a muted orange and yellow, because the sun is right there, and then we go to this haunted... It almost has, I really hate to say this, but it almost has a Scooby-Doo kind of vibe to it, with the colors and stuff, as far as the darkness and all that.
I could see that.
And she runs into the zombie goats.
Zombie goats.
I really want to call them zygotes for some odd reason. And she pulls out her axe and basically starts killing zombies.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I am not a fan of zombies at all. I'm so sick of zombies in pop culture. I've never seen The Walking Dead. I don't think that because I've never seen it, I'm not going to sit here and say the show is bad. I just hate all the hype about the show. I've never seen what's the other one? iZombie. I'm just not a zombie kind of guy. But this comic, I liked her seeing her kill the zombies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's maybe since they're a different type of zombie. They're not, like, I guess, of the undead. It's more magical and it's questionable. Are they zombies or are they just these beings under some sort of spell?
Mm-hmm. And once again, hey, there's another moon. We get a nighttime splash page where after she kills the zombie, she says it'll take a few more of those to ruin my day, and we see this nighttime scene with a different half moon.
Yeah.
It's not the same moon, so at least we have some sort of... You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the moon in the old Mac the Knife commercials. That's what it reminds me of.
I have no idea what that
is. So this nighttime scene with all these zombies, and they're basically surrounded. And that's how issue 2 ends.
Yeah, and ending on another cliffhanger like the first issue.
Yep. Which is kind of cool. Now, what I'm wondering, because I know issues 3, 4, and 5 are out. I have not read those yet, and I think how we're going to do these I Hate Fairyland episodes is the same way I've been doing the He-Man and Eternity War episodes with Ada Asparin. We're going to do them 2 issues at a time. So I have not read issue 3 yet, but I'm wondering, are we going to get another scene jump like we did between issues 1 and 2?
I know because I read it.
Tell me, but that's what left me wondering at the end of this after we've talked about it. I'm like, oh wait, are we going to get another scene jump? Great. Issue 2 also has pinups in the back of it, which is really cool variant kind of cover things for the series. I love the back end of this. The very back page, the flower that's basically drooling. Or no, he's got his tongue out. He's not drooling. That's his tongue, supposedly. I'm loving this series. Like, you know,
Yeah,
if only certain comics could come out on a daily basis, this would be one of them that would be awesome. Although I know that would probably kill Scotty Young.
yeah, and I don't like. I think this is one too that, like I said, is like I was wondering, can sustain this more than a miniseries? And luckily, I think it does show like there's a lot here to tap into. But I do think it's one that you like. I think it's a short, it's just perfect length. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It has a good formula set up so far, as we mentioned, and it shows that gives you an idea of okay, there's actually something here to keep going. But yeah, this is why I kind of love Image Comics because they give someone like Scotty Young the opportunity, really, I think, to do what makes him great and really give him like creative freedom. And just to like, hey, you love doing this stuff, go for it. And I think with that, he really gave out one of the most original, one of the most fun comics in the past year or so.
Yeah, I mean, this has been really, really fun. Like I said, I am really, really digging this. Folks, if you have not checked this out yet from Image Comics, go check out I Hate Fairyland. Issue number 2. Any other thoughts before we give the ratings on issue 2?
No, I think we covered most of it, but I think it's a good progression. We're seeing what's going on, but again, it's like I guess the best way to describe it is it's pure, unadulterated fun, enjoyment. It's a good comic. It's a good palate cleanser. Like if you're reading a lot of, comics that are like superhero based or dramatic and more serious, this is the perfect thing to read that kind of just reminds you of, okay, a comic can just be silly and insane and it makes you feel good.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what would you give this one?
I'd give it another 4 out of 5. I think they're the first two are about even when it comes to me with the series. So it's starting off a really good note.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 4 out of 5 for this one as well. They also have uncensored variant covers. I wonder how many people actually got these. The uncensored variant covers basically calls the series Fuck Fairyland.
Yeah. I think Greg from Talking in Circles, he's another big fan of the series. I think he's got 1 or 2 of the variant covers. So.
Does he really?
He's actually the person that kind of turned me on to Scotty Young. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. All right, folks. I think that's going to do it. I have no idea what's coming up next. I have various plans and things, and I've already had Steve make up art and stuff, but I'm not sure. I've got planned that Joe Reed and I are going to do a commentary on Secret of the Ooze because that movie is 25 years old.
Really? Man, that makes me feel old. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's either that one or in preparation for Out of the Shadows, we do a commentary on the 2014 Buck Turtles.
What?
I'm sorry, Bill Cosby did Buck much better than the Turtles did. My only problem with that 2014 film was hey, let's play Buck. And really, what they should have called it was Johnny on a Pony, because that's what it's supposed to be known in New York, according to Bill Cosby. Anyway, so yeah, it's either going to be the Secret of the Ooze commentary, or it might be, actually, it'll be a week after this, so it's about a week ago, as of this recording, and the way this is going to be published, TMNT, Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything #1 came out. IDW is having a 5-issue miniseries all about Bebop and Rocksteady basically going through time and creating havoc, and it is awesome. So, what do you guys got coming up on Talking in Circles?
Well, inspired by the release of X-Men Age of Apocalypse, we will be having an episode where we try to create our own apocalypse of pestilence, death, war, and famine, getting characters from all across comics and fiction and trying to basically get them to fit into those roles. So it's a fun little exercise of trying to create the ultimate Four Horsemen. And no, we did not pick Ric Flair. Spoiler alert. So.
As long as Vince McMahon and Donald Trump are in there fighting each other.
that may cause the apocalypse. You never know.
Okay, so some context, because I don't want to get too political on this show, obviously, but because Donald Trump is running for president of this great nation here. I went on WWE Network and I went back to look at, I think it was it WrestleMania 23, I think it was WrestleMania 23, where it was either going to be him or Vince that got their head shaved. And it turned out to be Vince. Oh, God. Seeing Donald Trump back in those days. Just crazy. So, yeah, folks. Make your great escape into comics. We will catch you next time. Like I said, it's either going to be Turtles or it's going to be... Who knows? We might end up coming back next week and doing issues 3 and 4 of this. Who knows? I don't know yet. So, we will catch you next time.
Now for a behind-the-scenes look at Geekcast Radio Network's newest show, Talking in Circles.
That was good. So, Chuck, Greg, what are you guys thinking for this week's show?
Well, Dan, how about we just talk about the things that we've read or watched this week?
We do reviews like that every week, Chuck. How about a game like Fact or Fiction or The Power of Names?
Those are great, and we're always coming up with new ideas for games. And how about some top fives? You know how I love my top fives.
What about tournament-style brackets, or sequel, reboot, and destroy, who will win in a fight, taking too far, crazy but true news, or...
Yes, it appears we have lots of things to work on.
Listen to Talking in Circles, taking timeless topics in new directions, every Tuesday on iTunes or GeekCastRadio.com, the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hey, Dan, who's the guy with the creepy voice?
Just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.